Start streaming.
Just because we're serious.
And then I need to
also click another button. Open. You need to not have this open.
And the first thing we're going to do on the stream is let people know that we're streaming.
Cool. Good thinking. Even if no one shows up, I think it's all good because we got a lot to talk about. There's a lot of new stuff. Where do you want to start? What do you want to start with doing?
How to bring the chat out here
so we can see chat. Yeah.
Forget how we usually do this. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
How do we usually have the chat?
I don't know. I don't know. This is entirely your department. Entirely.
The inner workings.
Ty. Hey. Good to see you. Cool.
There.
Cool.
You're like Face X. What's up, man?
You're like most engaged on the dev stuff. Because you are a Unity dev. You're doing your own dev. So, yeah. Maybe we'll talk about some more technical stuff today. Mostly because my branch is pretty unplayable. Do you wanna pop over and take a look at progress?
That could be the first thing, yeah.
Because I'm actually really proud of what I've managed to accomplish over the last week. And sometimes I guess it's good to look at what progress in game dev sometimes looks like because let's
it's certainly not
let's
linear.
True that. I believe Connor breaks the game. 2023 is the name of the branch. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, it was a big teardown. It was a big teardown. But so one of the big problems, and the problem that I wouldn't tear apart things unless I have a problem to solve, is that there are three major scripts. There was the Goblin behavior script, the Goblin actor script, and the Goblin animator script, and all of them were incredibly dependent on each other.
Yeah.
And they all seem to just grab different properties of each other willy-nilly out of thin air. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make a funnel where the Goblin actor does its thing in isolation. The Goblin behavior does its thing in isolation. So the actor is responsible for moving the character controller's rigid body around the game world and processing, like reading control states from another script. I'm calling an interpreter.
Yeah.
Which I can create a player interpreter, I can create a CPU interpreter, I can create an idle interpreter, and have them create a control state that the actor reads differently.
It's really like as little as your scripts can need to talk to each other, the better.
Yeah, that really is more and more I'm figuring is just like how isolated can each script be. I think I'm still, one of my bad habits is still just putting too much into a single script, whereas like, I don't know, a professionally trained software engineer might tell me like
2 lines of code per script.
2 lines of code per script. If you have 1,000 scripts in your project, that's fine. When you do like utility scripts and you just like throw them in, they usually look really good because they're usually just like, what's this script? It does one thing. It does one thing.
Well, I'm so scared to like start a domino effect that I'm like, I need to code. If I'm gonna put my Goblin code in the game, if it breaks, it needs to break itself, and then
on its own.
It
breaks
and
on
not
its
break
own.
Anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. I recently added that, so I'm using an interpreter called.
Please.
I think it's just called iInterpret. Like I made up the word interpreter, but part of the thing is whenever I'm deving, because I'm not professionally trained. Like I have a handful of computer science university courses under my belt from like a decade ago, and other than that, I'm just figuring it out as I go along.
School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah, but one of the things I always have is like I have a problem naming things. It's like because everything that all the good names are already like taken. Yeah. You're like this is a component. No, component's already a thing. It's already a thing. I can't call it that. Or I want to name my extension scripts. I want to name them utilities. It's like, no, that's a Unity library. Unity already calls them utility. So I've named them utilities. And it's just going to be a mess when everybody else has to look at my code. I dread the day that that I show it off. But at the same time, I feel like...
It's probably better than you think.
Yeah, things are always better than you think. Where are we? What's going on? This is branch. Which scene is this, though? I set up some test scenes.
Okay.
It's not going to launch into a basic scene, so let's go.
Sense.
Do you want to just play with the character controller? Show off the character controller?
Yeah, let's do that first.
Do you want to see where we're at? Let's see. Let's show off the progress. Can you so we can see the full names? Thank you. Let's look at. I'll go in and show the test, the actual scripts off in a second, so you can see kind of what I'm going for, and then you could tell me if it's a bad idea or not. But right now, if we go to new Puppet test, let's look at what a week's worth of progress is, and like I'm actually really proud of this.
Oh, this is with Puppet on.
Yeah, this is with. Don't get too excited, man. But it is with Puppet on, and you haven't seen it. This came together yesterday, and there's good reason for that.
Oh yeah. Whoa!
Yeah.
Okay, he's in action here.
He's in action. If you keep moving at good speed with this.
Okay, jumping is.
Yeah, jumping does stuff.
He's a challenge for him.
Jumping does stuff for sure. So right now the animated target is still pinned to the rigid body. So like if you keep moving, you can see that the rigid body moves away.
Right, and that's why he zooms.
And that's why he really zooms. It's just the pin weights, because there's very few. I guess there's very few pin pow. Is that the name of the one that?
Woo! Jump, man.
So part of that is because the animated target keeps moving.
Right.
And there's IK on the jump, so his hips are just like pulled, snap over. Yeah, exactly as intended.
Yeah.
I think
this is the new direction we're headed.
Where it's a good flail about on the ground. But yeah, like I feel like there's a lesson in all this. Is that sometimes to move forward, you have to be bold and really break it down, and that's kind of where we're at today.
That's pretty much when we switched to having it be a ragdoll all the time. I think that was our biggest teardown.
So that was a complete rebuild of the whole project. That was like everything
we could keep the assets.
Everything we put in for the alpha, all the script had to come out and be rebuilt. I don't think I kept even any of the original code. Like, it's in a whole new project from there, from where it was.
And I'm so glad we did that.
Yeah, me too.
And I think we should.
I actually think the ragdoll looks really good even right now. It doesn't behave how you want it to, but but this is anyway. So now the actor doesn't talk to the behavior at all. I have to rewrite the behavior. I've only got like the very rudiments of the behavior in right now. So it can switch states from pinned to unpinned. I'm trying to remove the get up state entirely because it was held over from Puppet Master. Can you bring up the scene view side by each so we can like kind of show off what's going on?
Yeah. No, I don't know how much of the screen is visible because it's a widescreen monitor and the stream is standard definition, so I'm just gonna pull it over
a little bit.
Let us know if you can't see what's going on. I'll readjust.
Oh, because you can't stream the full monitor vision. You wanna play this not maximized though,
Yes.
or else we can't see the scene view.
Yes, Puppet Master is an asset, and it's sort of like the core of the game. I don't think we would get anywhere without it.
Yeah, Puppet Master is from Root Motion Dynamics. They also make Final IK, which we're also using. It's a great asset. It's got a bit of a learning curve, but really what it does, and we can show you in a second, if you go to the Goblin actor here.
Where is he?
He's not a Don't Destroy Unload, so
That would be crazy.
scroll down. He's down here. He's a new puppet test, right there. So if you want to go to his actor, and we can show off a bit more in detail what Puppet Master does. I think his actor might have fallen out of the frame. You might want to reset the whole scene because sometimes the actor gets pushed through the ground, and that's just because we're not like forcing its position yet. But yeah, let's go take a look at this goblin. So you can see the Goblin's character controller. The big capsule collider is his checker, so it checks for things that are nearby so that he can pick up items and the like. But the little capsule collider is actually the entirety of his character controller. It's not. I mean, we're not using one of the Unity's character controllers. We're just using a rigid body. And that's mostly so it can get physics materials so that it can slide across the ground and we can change the friction on it dynamically. So that I'm hoping that'll give us a little bit of feet slide on landing. If we on landing, you go to a less high friction material and it gives it just a little bit of feet slide.
Yeah, or different ground types. If we have ice.
Can we look at the animated target?
Yeah.
And this is what Puppet Master is really doing.
He's just disappeared out of him again.
Yeah. That's gonna be a bit of a problem.
I just won't move him around while we look at this.
Yeah.
You want to look at the puppet?
No, I want to look at the animated target. This guy here. Goblin, yeah, that guy. Just that guy there. So you can see the blue outline, and that's the animated target of the animation that the Goblin is playing. So what Puppet Master does is it creates a ragdoll that you can tweak the ragdoll. There's like a ragdoll customizer in that. I realize I keep pointing right in front of the camera, and it's probably really annoying, but so. What Puppet Master does is it creates the ragdoll on the Goblin. So each one of the Goblin's limbs and sublimbs, so his thigh, his shin, his foot, there's like 2 in the torso, there's 1 in the head. They all have a rigid body and a capsule collider on them. And what Puppet Master does is it uses just Unity's built-in add force and add torque methods to try to force the Goblin to its animated position, its animated target. And there are 2 factors, 2 floats that kind of control that. One is the pin. So the pin is universal, the amount of add force that's being used to push this Goblin back to its target position. So that's how sometimes you'll see him fly through the air and really zip over.
Because he's pinned to something that is possibly underground.
Yeah, it's probably underground. It's probably way off the map. And the other way Puppet Master moves the thing around is there's a muscle weight. It calls it muscle weight. So that's another float. And that is the amount of torsion it applies to the joints on the Goblin. So that even if the pin weight of all of the parts are set to 0, you still get this motion, which is why he's running on the ground, because the running animation is playing, so it's adding that torque to just his legs to keep him moving in the air. I actually can't recommend both Final IK, which is just a very simple IK. It's got a whole bunch of different IK solvers in it. It probably will do for most IK you ever want to do. And it's very easy to use. And then Puppet Master, I'd never be able to figure out the math to get this to happen without this asset. So yeah, Root Motion Dynamics on the Unity Asset Store. They often go on sale. I think they're $90 each, but they'll often go on sale as a package where you can get them both for $90. So that's what I did. It's amazing. Yeah, good stuff.
I really think this game was like a pipe dream until
we discovered that asset. It was like, this is a thing. It's a thing we want to make. It's a thing we want to do, but like we can't do it. And then it was like, oh, I think we can. What's going on
A
here?
year and a half later, we have this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like most of the like a lot of the comments we get and stuff when we post on Reddit or the like is like, hey, how are you blending animations with the ragdoll? Like we've got a magic trick. But really someone else did it. Someone else made the problem easy.
And it is a magic trick.
And it's absolutely a magic trick. But yeah, the ragdoll movement's kind of like you kind of snap into place sometimes. You can see that.
This makes me really want to be able to roll around.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the game, like, I don't think this game would be getting made if we didn't discover Puppet Master at all. It's like, it was not a change to the workflow. It's just like, we would have made a different game. We would have been working on something else. Like, it started with Cosmic Pyramid Dismount, where we got just like one of the Banana Men. And this is another good free asset on the Unity Asset Store, and it's good because it's not optimized at all. So for testing purposes, like,
it's like a worst case scenario.
It's a worst case scenario.
And I think that's on purpose.
Yeah, maybe that's on purpose. It is like a test asset. But anyway, we had one of those Banana Men, and you could push him off a cosmic pyramid that was floating in the void of space. And that's kind of where it all started. Well, like, we had one day where we were like, let's go try to find a great dismount game on itch. And we couldn't do it. Yeah. And we eventually found this game called Fall Off a Mountain and Die.
That was the closest.
It was the closest.
It's since been removed.
It's been removed from itch. I can't find it, and it's a shame because it was a masterpiece. You pushed a ragdoll off a mountain, and sad piano music played as he ragdolled down. That was the extent of the game. And slowly the screen would fade out from the sides. It was an art experiment. I loved it.
I loved it too. So let's go over. This is just the actor without the puppet.
Yeah, you switched over to the scene. I'm actually glad this is working. Yeah, there's no physics on this. This is basically a brand new character controller. I've rewritten a lot of what has gone into it. You can jump. Oh, you're gonna have to turn down the jump force, I think, because or up the weight of the ragdoll.
Holy moly!
I've never played the skate games. Big fan of like Tony Hawk Pro Skater on the. Was it on the Nintendo 64? It was on the PlayStation for sure.
Is there ragdoll mode in Skate?
That'd be great though. That'd be great. I think one of my favorite ragdoll games is from Saints Row 2. There's like an insurance fraud minigame where you could hit a button and your ragdoll and then you have to walk out in traffic and see how hard you can get hit by a truck. It's more fun than the rest of Saints Row 2, and like. Saints Row 2 is great.
It's a pretty good game.
It's pretty great game.
That's the best part of it.
That's my favorite part of it, for sure.
Where's this guy's jump?
Oh, it's where is this jump? Just go to the Goblin. He's in the hierarchy here.
He's in there?
Yeah. He's just the new test there.
Goblin test. Goblin actor.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. Oh, so I gotta go through and organize. No, that was it. It's default.
I just want to have it up here, so we could edit while we play here.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure we can get, no, not 3,000, like 300, 400, I think, probably, unless you want to increase the weight of the rigid body. I think the character controller rigid body should be the same weight as the Goblin, because then he'll actually interact with the bridges, like not just when he's unpinned.
Whoa.
That's way too much air control, I think. You could just turn this right down. And one of the wonders, don't even do it. Don't change it. Just change it right here.
I'm just gonna change his weight.
Oh yeah, you'll have to end the control. But one of the reasons we've used scriptable objects for everything is you can make changes at runtime while the game's playing, and you can have them update immediately. I don't know, like when I was first getting into Unity like 3 years ago, it's about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're going through the tutorials and the scriptable objects keep coming up. It's like, here's command pattern, here's scriptable objects, here's scriptable objects again. And for the longest time, I couldn't really figure out what the difference between scriptable objects and the rest of it was. And now I'm like, I'm never putting settings like that control a thing outside of a scriptable object. Yeah, they're so powerful. They're absolutely amazing. I'm in love with them for sure.
Yeah, because it just so much of game dev is about tweaking small settings.
Yeah, and scriptable objects let you do that live, like at runtime. Right now, we can go through and tweak any of this. Yeah, I did too. All of my settings were just like sitting at the top of my scripts. I would serialize a lot of them, and then you can't, as best as I can tell, you can't actually tweak those at runtime. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. But with scriptable objects, you always can, because they save changes that are made in the editor at runtime. The one place that I see a lot of people having trouble with them is when they actually go to build the game and all of a sudden their scriptable objects are working differently. Because at runtime, once you compile, your scriptable objects will always return to the whatever default value they compiled at. So people will use them and they'll save data that's like persistent between runs, and they're like, oh, I can use these to save a bunch of things. And it's like, nah, you can't. That's not what they're for. They're basically there, as best I can tell, they're there to make it easier for your dev team to interface with all of the little values in your code that have to change. Yeah. Yeah, I use a lot of events. Wouldn't say we have one event system. We have like the Unity event system to manage all our like UI stuff, and then I got all my own events everywhere. I have this problem where when I discover something new, like a new tool, I use it for everything, because it's like, oh yeah, I really need to
solve every
yeah,
problem.
I want to use it to solve every problem. And it seems like in programming, it's like you can solve every problem every way. and if you keep thinking about like, how's the best way to solve this problem, then you never write any code at all.
I made a whole game using if and for loops. So
Yeah.
with enough tenacity.
I'd be interested in knowing how scriptable objects kind of hook up to an event system. Like, yeah, I'd be interested in seeing it. Yeah, exactly. There was a moment towards the beginning of the dev cycle where it was just all delegates all the time. It was everything was a delegate and everything was an event, and like there are so many reasons you shouldn't do that. I learned the hard way.
Normally, when I go into your code, I could figure out what's going on because it's pretty readable.
Yeah.
Whenever there's delegates going on,
you're like, I don't know. I don't know.
Like, I guess I'll have to.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it. I really liked the animator script you sent over. Actually, maybe we can go and see some of the implementation, because I've done something very similar, but I still wanted to be able to use the transitions in the animator and use animator parameters to transition. So I built a little thing that checks the hash of the animator, like at the top of each update loop. And it sees if the animator's hash has changed. And then if it has changed, it creates a new animation logic state, which is the same as your states that you sent over. And I'm using basically that same system to run these new animations. Yeah, we need a soccer minigame for sure. Like I just I think it'd be great. What else can we show off?
This is we could pop back over. I could go over my animations.
I got a few more things. You want to show
Here,
off?
take the reins.
Take the
By all
reins.
means.
Take the reins. Can I just? I gotta
I'll
tweak some
go
of the
to the
settings
washroom.
here.
I'll be
We're
right
gonna set
back.
this guy to idle, and then we're gonna make sure that our goblin is here. What am I looking for? Where's our goblin test? There he is. All right. Yeah, so this new animator, one of the things I was struggling with last week was getting into Unity's animator, and I don't know if you... Oh my god, Joel. He just has every tab open. I don't know. Some people like a lot of tabs open, and I need like only the tabs I'm working on open, or else I will be lost forever. I gotta make this one smaller too, so that we can actually see it in screen. Yeah, so this is check for state change. This is this nice little thing that lets me kind of implement the state machine logic and then have all the animation states, but still be able to use the animator for the animation transitions. And it's honestly just this tiny chunk of code. One issue I have, and it's very confusing why, is that Unity has this animator state info as a struct and not as a reference type object, so that if you get it, it's like static at the time you get it, and it doesn't update, so that it has stuff like the normalized time of the animation, so like the how far along the animation is on a scale of 0 to 1, but you have to re-get this every frame, and that tripped me up for a while, because it doesn't really... I guess it tells you it's a struct, and you just have to know the difference. But like I moved into NavMesh, I went from the animator to NavMesh, and just looking at the documentation difference in Unity between the animator and the NavMesh tells me that the people working on different parts of Unity never talk to each other.
They're just different teams.
They're
entirely.
absolutely different teams, and they work completely in isolation, and they have different standards for how to do their documentation. And I don't know. Like, I love Unity. I think it's a brilliant tool, and it's really, really cool. But
I wonder how much of it is like this team made an asset and Unity wants to absorb them.
I know Cinemachine definitely work like that, and I think the animator is also, because they like, you see a lot of old forum posts calling it mechanim or something like that. So I think something similar happened with the current Unity animator. Yeah, input system's also very, very bad for documentation. But all of these tools that are terrible for documentation are enormously powerful. Yeah. So it's like you can do wonderful things with them, but yeah, I hate the input system people. I'm like, I like the input system, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Yeah. The one other thing about the animator that it took me a while to figure out is that when you create a hash, where is it? It's in here. So I'm creating all my hashes in this static class. I think I need to like brush up on how hash maps work, but they seem like they're global static properties that exist for all the animators everywhere, based on that string value. So I don't know if this is going to come back and bite me later.
These should probably be labeled as Goblin, just in case.
Like where do you label them?
Like,
state ID Goblin idle, state ID Goblin directional move, state ID Goblin jump.
I think so.
But I figure like if we have another animator that isn't a Goblin and we use all of the same string names for its states,
it should just work.
You should be able to just plug it into the same same bit of code. Okay, while we're talking about code. I'm surprised this works. I'm actually really, really happy this works. Yeah, hash is just a reference to a string. And there's a long-winded forum post that got into the fact that Unity's hashing function will produce an error, and people are very split on whether or not this is a problem, because sometimes it'll produce an error like 1 in 2 million times. There's a 1 in 2 million chance you'll get a reference to the wrong string when you use Unity's hashing function. And some people are like, that's not an issue because 1 in 2 million. And other people are like, it's absolutely an issue because if it does happen, there's no way to know where this problem comes from, and it's not mentioned in the documentation.
Right.
So, programmers get contentious and very heated.
Our game probably breaks 1 in 2 million times, at least.
Yeah, I imagine, but like giant AAA games break 1 in 2 million
1 in 200 times.
Yeah, I'll take 1 in 2 million. Yeah, so I'm basically hashing everything in a static class outside, just my animator utilities class. But this is the thing that I don't know. Like, I feel like I've done a weird hack, because these are my state logic functions. So think of them like the states in the state machine you sent me. They're basically the same. But what I did is I set up the constructor as a delegate, and then I created the delegate. I create the delegate here, and I add it to this container, this like idle state constructor container, and then I put those into a dictionary with the hash enabled, so that if I have the hash of the current move state, I can construct the right state logic for that state at that time. And I'm terrified that this is somehow terrible code. Like it's something that a professional will look at me and be like, no, you can't do that. Like, what are you doing? It's an affront against nature. But it works so well, and it looks so clean. And
maybe it's good.
I can't. Yeah, maybe it's great.
Maybe it's good.
Maybe it's great. And I have so many moments where it's just like, Yeah. I don't know.
If it ends up exploding, we'll do something else.
We'll deal with it. Yeah, I don't have any layers currently in here, but we do use a bunch of animation layers on our animator. Basically, all of the like rock throw and the upper body movements for swinging the club and stuff are all completely separate layers. And then we have a third animation layer right up at the top, which is just the goblin's head, so that we can do different facial expressions. Yeah. We only have one in the game right now, but
there's two.
There's two. Yeah. Okay. So the one other thing, and then I'll get out of the way, and we can go. Can I close all these?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Wow. Oh my God! They keep coming.
Don't throw stones in a glass house, okay?
You don't. You just let other people in to throw stones in a glass house. Yeah, but. Oh yeah, I guess it's kind of a layered process. It's more just so I can access when you create the dictionary. Dictionaries apparently access in like one step. So if you do a list, you have to iterate through the list to get to the part of the list you want. But dictionaries, for some reason, are different. I don't know. I did data structures and algorithms way back in the day, and we probably did dictionaries. They also have something to do with hash. They're all the values in them are stored as hash. So it's just a single string single int comparison to get what you want out of a dictionary. I actually ended up using them everywhere, but for some reason Unity will not serialize dictionaries properly in the inspector.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame. There's another thing. So one of the things, if we go into our AI scripts and we go and we look at, is it our AI scripts? No, sorry, actor. If we go look at our interpreter scripts, so this is how I'm going to try to set it up so that it'll be easy to make AI goblins. So I've created this I interpret third person, which is a really simple interface, which I'm applying to all these other interpreters. So this is the interface. It's really simple. It can get a control state, which everything the goblin does, everything the actor does, is based on the current values in the control state.
So you could pass in player input, or
you could pass in player input, or you can pass in like, here's my algorithm to generate the control state for the AI, whatever that means to be. And then it can calculate the third person control state. So this gets called whatever interpreter is active on the actor. No, I think interfaces are really powerful. You should get into interfaces. Here's the thing, though. Unity does not serialize them to the inspector unless you do some weird hacks. So if you want to pass your references around in the inspector, interfaces become useless. But it seems like the more I read and look into it, they are the main way, like, professional grade programs get scripts to interact with each other.
Can I get and explain, like, I'm 5 on what an interpreter is?
An interpreter? An interpreter is a word I made up. So maybe it has some other different... but in this case, it means it interprets something to get a control state for the goblin actor to do what they need to do.
Right, so it takes in data and... turns it into something
takes
usable.
in some data and turns it into something useful.
Gotcha.
And an interface is just a mark that you put on a class. So, like, let's go to one of the implementations of this interface. So here, we'll look at the simplest one first, is the idle interpreter. So when the goblin is idle, it creates a brand new idle interpreter, which implements the interface I interpret third person. And you know it implements the interface because it has all of the functions with the same signatures as the interface. So you can see that side by each, right? So these are just empty functions. They're one line, and then you end them with a semicolon. And then anything that implements the interface needs to have all of those functions implemented. Basically, that's all an interface is. Which means when you do a declaration, like in the puppet actor, give me a sec. Third person actor. You can see everything got closed up. Where is it? You can see that you can declare an interface like you would any other field, and then you can anything that is that interface that implements that interface can be accepted. So you could have two classes that are completely different classes. As long as they implement those same functions, you can create a reference to them anywhere you need it, and then you can call just the functions that are in that interface, because the compiler knows that those functions will be there and that you'll have them. And that's the other, like, the more I read into it, the more I'm like, when object-oriented, like, professionally trained object-oriented programmers sit down to design their classes, everything that comes from external is an interface.
Right.
So that it doesn't really matter who's implementing that code, as long as they know that it implements these functions. Now I can put it anywhere I want. Unity uses interfaces all over the place.
That's very secure.
Yeah, it's very secure, and it also lets you write test classes that, like, just return a value, just return a flat value. Like this idle interpreter is probably a really good example of that. It interprets third person. It can calculate a third person control state. It does nothing. If you ask it to get its current control state, it just returns a new empty blank control state because it has no control. The goblin's just going to stand there. And if you zero the control state, it doesn't matter because it doesn't have a solid control state anywhere, so it doesn't do anything. But if you look at, like, the player interpreter we've got set up, then you can see like it's just much more complicated, but it does all the same things. It has a constructor to create a brand new interpreter that we can make kind of on the fly, and that subscribes to some specific inputs on my controller, so that we can get the difference between grabs and holds, and then it can get the current control state. It tracks the current control state. It's got functions for calculating its move, its look position, whether or not jump is held this frame. And really, the player interpreter, everything comes from the controller to the interpreter. But then I've also created an AI interpreter. And let's see if we can get the goblin running around on the nav mesh. Where is it? Here's our third-person interpreter here. And it's also doing all the same things the player's doing. And we're just calculating the raw control state to move the goblin around. Right now, I can just get him to run on the nav mesh. He doesn't actually ever, like, look, if you look at calculate jump, it just always is false.
Right.
They're never jumping. But yeah. Yeah.
And as you have more and more people working on a project, imagine it's crucial to have stuff like that, so multiple people could be working on the same issue.
Yeah, that seems to be the idea. Like, that seems to be the crux behind interfaces in general, is that it lets you work very much in isolation.
Yeah.
So long as you know what functions, you can just write a test thing that returns some arbitrary value for those functions. Someone else can be working on the class that'll eventually implement the interface, and then you can write test cases. So you call an interface of your interpreter class, and if an object has the interpreter class on it, you call interpreter like it. Yeah. No, that's exactly it. So if you call an instance, so you could see in the third person actor, this is like a base class. The Goblin actor extends this, but so it's an abstract class, but it all the code is here. But I think it's in public control methods. You can see I have this enter player control, enter AI control, enter idle control, where it sets the active interpreter to the type of interpreter, and then it passes anything that interpreter needs through into the interpreter's constructor when you enter that control type. So like the third person, the AI interpreter only needs access to the actor. It doesn't need access to anything else. But you can see kind of inside here that it creates a navigation AI, which is just another script that talks to the nav mesh and figures out which direction the goblin should be holding at this given time. Let me see if I can get this guy running on the nav mesh, and then we'll jump over to your branch and we can talk about animations, and I'll stop talking about code. And
no, it's good. I think
I like it. I really like it. It's I have been like these last 2 weeks have been some of the, I don't know, something clicked. It was just like something clicked, and I'm not afraid of ruining anything. It's like I can't break it because I can always unbreak it. Like I don't know. I was very timid before.
Sometimes you just got to do those broad strokes.
Yeah. Now it's just like I'll tear it apart. And you know what? If it doesn't work again today, it'll work again tomorrow. Like I'll get it there. I'll get it back over the hill. And you got to be bold. You can't be a coward.
Important mindset, I think.
Yeah.
I was looking at it like we left the test kitchen 4 months ago, which is crazy to me.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
That's it?
That's it.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. It feels like it both feels like it's been forever, but also it feels like it hasn't been very long at all. This guy should have a nav beacon. He should be this other goblin here. This dude should have a like part of me, like, I'm really happy I've got the mouse confined here, but also part of me is like, if you're in the editor, don't do that, please, because I have to hit exit every time I want to leave the actual game scene. What was I doing? Where are you? There's your nav beacon. Okay, so let's activate the nav beacon. And let's put it somewhere. And this
Are you working
should-
with a team, TY?
I think. Why aren't you navigating? What's up with you, Goblin? What's up with you? Oh, there he goes. He's navigating. He's navigating. Here he goes. Oh, it's right across. So you can see how great the nav mesh is. It is just kind of working. So the green line is the line the Goblin's trying to travel. And it only looks at the horizontal axis. So you can see when he dips way down on the bridge there. It works fine. And you can run down this hill here. Anyway, I was actually shocked how quickly the nav mesh just kind of works like magic. So it's a really good. It's actually really well documented too. All the parts of it are like written up with use cases. So if you ever want to get into nav mesh and start moving agents around, it's far easier than.
I was shocked too because we talked in the morning. You're like, I'm gonna work on nav mesh today. Start AI. I'm like,
yeah, like 3 hours later.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then you messaged me later that
it
day,
mostly
like,
just works. You can see he sometimes gets stuck. He sometimes will get stuck on a ledge, which it's values to tweak, right? Like we got to go into our objects and we got to change the step height or something.
all that kind of needs to happen after the puppet, because if he was a puppet,
But you can go up there actually.
he would be rolling down the hill.
Oh, he's not recalculating. Oh, because it's not on the ground. There you go. Oh, it's still not on the ground. How do you put it on the ground? Control shift.
Control shift.
Control
yeah.
shift. Control shift. Oh, yeah. If you haven't figured that one out yet, because I always forget it every single time. But if you're moving stuff around in the scene, which I don't do too often, Control shift will pin it to the whatever object's behind it.
Yeah, control shift and then grab.
So we got him navigating. Oh yeah, so I was going through a big life transition, and I was trying to figure out, it's like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Because writing proposals for government contracts is eating my soul. Like it is not. Yeah, lots of complaints about the government procurement process in
It's a different stream.
But I sat down and I first I generated a hex grid, and then I wrote an A-star algorithm, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm hooked. This is great.
Yeah,
like
the first thing
A-star.
you did.
Yeah, A-star is a fun path-finding algorithm to write. Unity's nav mesh just implements it. You don't have to do the implementation.
Is it using
of
A-star?
It is using A-star. Yeah. Basically, any pathfinding. This guy must be off the nav mesh now.
He's slipped out.
Yeah. Where's our navigation window? It's AI navigation. So you can see the nav mesh. These lines are red, so it's saying he's off the mesh, but he's not that far off the mesh. So being able to get them back on the mesh is probably pretty important, because once they get off the mesh, they get really confused, and it just kind of ends. So anyway, lots of work to do, but nav mesh is really, really easy to set up, really easy to bake. One issue I have with it is there's no easy way to get it to stop at the edge of the game bounds. So you can see that the nav mesh is generated over the whole of the whole terrain, even though there is a game bound that prevents the goblin from leaving.
Yeah.
There's an experimental nav mesh component system that's like in one of the Unity beta branches right now, and I really want to use it because it would solve some of these problems. Because right now the nav mesh applies to the whole object or none of the object. So if you have a terrain, you put the nav mesh on the whole terrain. So what we'd eventually have to do is find a way to either cut just the level out of the terrain and put the nav mesh just on that, and have a separate terrain that is kind of like the background terrain, or we map it into a skybox, like a big panoramic skybox that you can't really see, or something. But the new nav mesh apparently lets you put a volume, so it's just like a box collider that you could put around a chunk, and then you could say exclude this chunk from the nav mesh. I'm just tentative because we're actually gonna try to publish this game. I'm very tentative to use anything in a Unity experimental branch in it. It's just like we want to upgrade to Cinemachine 3. Which is also in the experimental
I'm hoping
branch.
that comes out by the time we want to.
Yeah. One of the biggest complaints I see a lot in mostly on Reddit, mostly all the game dev stuff I read is on Reddit about Unity, is that they don't really commit to how long the thing will be in the experimental branch for. It's like, it's there till it's done, you know? So you can play with these features and they might look like they work, but the Unity's really saying, we might axe this. We could axe this at any point, and he just got to deal with it. So I don't know. All right, I'm done. I've blabbed a lot about what I've been working on. So
I'm really glad it's helpful to you. It's things can seem like a lot, but then you start poking around with them, and it's actually not as intimidating as it looks.
I don't think. And this might be controversial, right? But I don't think game dev is hard. I don't believe it's difficult. I think the tools are there and the resources are there, that it's not an insurmountable barrier. I think most people can get into it. What it does take is an immense amount of time and effort.
Yeah,
so if you're lucky enough to have immense amount of time and effort and you've always wanted to do it, you can do it, you should go do it.
It's the coolest thing in the world.
It's thousands of simple things working together to make a big. It's never been more attainable. Exactly, it's never been more attainable.
Thank God for YouTube.
Yeah, we got we got all the tools, we got all the resources. It's possible.
I'm going to push these changes unless you have.
Yeah, sure, whatever. I don't ever push through the built-in version control anymore.
Oh, no?
No, because it's probably fine. Yeah, I always go to Branch Explorer, and I think you should start branching your shit too. We should both be branching and remerging. But and then go pending changes over here, and this is how I push them. And maybe that's just superstition.
Check in?
Yeah, check in. It'll ask you for a comment. It'll be very picky about it, but whatever. I don't care. Someday, we will have to care about comments on our changes. Probably today, we should care about comments on our changes, but yeah. Where's your main branch, though? None of these are main. Yeah, so if you go Branch Explorer, and then you gotta not right click on the dot. You have to right click on the branch itself, and then you could switch workplace to this branch.
Gotcha.
Wicked. So what have you been working on?
I've been getting a bunch of animations in the game, polishing some stuff, working on the slow-mo effects, and just sort of experimenting because...
Then now's the time. Also, it's all kind of an experiment, right?
Is this switched over?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Just confused because this scene doesn't exist.
Yeah, I guess we'll go find out. Prefab instance. Alright, then,
Doesn't concern me.
I find those red warnings very alarming. Oh yeah, okay. Something's going on. Something's wrong. You want to just now that you switch, you want to just restart the project?
Yeah.
Yeah, might be a good idea. I hope we didn't screw everything up by doing this thing.
I think it'll be
We're
fine.
with Plastic SCM, mostly because it just integrates with Unity's work environment. I'd really like to learn Git, Git seems to be the go-to standard. Plastic we've had some trouble with, to be honest, but it's possible we would have had the same trouble with Git because we're still both kind of learning version control. It's really just because Unity's cloud storage comes with Plastic SCM, and we don't want to pay for cloud storage otherwise. This guy is not working right?
He's confused.
What's going on here?
Oh no.
Yeah. What's going on? That was your experiment?
I was playing with some effects.
Oh, okay. There. This looks better. It looks a little better. All right. Well, I don't think we're gonna grow the team anytime soon, but I'm glad you've heard that. I mostly anytime I look up Plastic SCM online, I'm doing it because I have a problem. So I just end up finding a bunch of people complaining about it. Mostly people are frustrated because we were using Unity Collaborate, which isn't really a version control system. It's just like it pushes everything to the main branch. So the whole branching, figuring out. I'm worried. We really broke stuff when we jumped branches there, eh?
Something's going on here. That shouldn't be a problem.
What's your most recent playset? You're on that wrong branch. Just revert.
Pending changes.
You did switch.
Oh, on main.
All right. Well, let's try again. Yeah, maybe. I hope Plastic does seem pretty solid now that I've gotten it figured out. Why is he in directional move mode though? Well, maybe we won't play Watch Out for Goblins today. And that's fine. He's still bouncing around great.
That's
really better than ever.
What the? Where is he?
The Goblin? I'm worried it's the changes I've made to the some of the base actor scripts are still being held over.
Right.
I decided that maybe the Goblin should just be right in here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're still the old Goblin, so they shouldn't be any different.
Not him.
You know, it'd be a really great editor script. It'll just focus on the active Goblin. You know,
Yeah.
you have a box checked and it's like, yeah, we'll just focus on the active Goblin. It's just a component somewhere in the scene. If that box is checked, just whenever a new Goblin becomes active, it'll select him in the hierarchy and hit F on your keyboard for you. Yeah, honestly, all the problems we had with Plastic were mostly because we were both pushing to the same branch at the same time, which is obviously you can't do that. So once I started branching and Joel's just pushing the main branch, but I think if we both branched and both merged back to the main branch, we could have a very good workflow. I like it that it's visual. I think there are visual ends for Git, right? Like you can get a Git visualizer, but I think it's mostly like command line, is it not? Like you have to use your console and command line to navigate Git.
Yeah, I did a game jam a number of years ago, and they were using Git. Blew my mind. I didn't.
You did no idea what Git was at the time.
I feel confident to say I'll never.
You can though.
I could.
But
I'll never.
I did do my little dive into Linux, but I quickly realized just the amount of work it takes to get things working in Linux. You know, I had some fun playing around and trying to get it working.
You know what it must be the default Goblin settings.
Okay, so there is a Git for desktop, which is pretty great.
It's the default Goblin settings.
It's the default Goblin settings? What do you mean?
They
were set to the wrong thing?
They're all the ones you have.
Hey, you fixed it.
Yeah, he's gonna still jump like crazy.
Oh yeah. Well, you could just change the jumping settings, right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting that the scriptable object didn't update based on the change set.
Yeah, that is interesting.
And I guess that makes sense because like nothing's changed. No code has changed in the scriptable object, right? Just what the values you've set have changed. So it's interesting that branches don't seem to carry that over.
Jumps.
Big jumps. No air control. That makes sense. Well, yeah, I have like air control over your. Nice. I really like. We can make this full screen if we're not showing off some other stuff.
Yes.
So do you have new animations in here? Their movement animations look different.
I do not. These are the same.
Okay. As they've always been.
Same as they've always been. I have like always done some tweaking on the puppets, so they might look a little different. I think they look better.
Hmm.
I'll just be tweaking that for the rest of my life, probably.
Yeah. At least till we get a goblin on a toboggan.
But
as I've been saying, I'm not done with this game until I have a goblin toboggan.
I'll pull up the controlled strafe. No, I don't have it in there. This is my stagger tree.
Yeah, I haven't even looked at it. I'm gonna be honest. I've been like absolutely in my own little world.
Oh, this is not my stagger tree.
This is my walking tree.
Oh, I know why that's like that. Because I made a backup animator where I did all my changes on it.
Oh,
so
look at that.
I'm just going to make the movement just staggering.
Okay.
So that's how I've been testing it.
So we can see it. And that's easy to do?
I won't say like it makes the game playable, but
I don't know. Were we working on a stagger the other day? Probably.
Yeah.
Do you do like a video or something of it?
I just posted on the Discord.
Oh yeah. Oh, that looks good. Oh, that looks good.
And it is in all directions. He can do this.
Oh man. Yeah, it's gonna look great. I gotta go backwards. Oh yes.
Diagonal.
Oh yes. That's so nice. Yeah, that's another really cool piece of tech we got, the Rokoku motion capture.
Yeah.
Do you like using it? You still
I like using it a lot. It's very sweaty. I need to wash it.
You can take, I think it's machine washable. You just have to take all the sensors out. And make sure you take all the sensors out.
Yes.
Can I stagger around?
Yeah,
I wanna do this. This looks fun. Is this their new idle stance? No.
This is just the basic idol.
Like the one we had before,
Yeah, where
the
he
confident idol.
He just sort of stands there.
Yeah, okay. Wow. Joel. Joel.
Yeah, it's going to really pop
It's
when we
gonna
get
really
that in.
pop. Yeah. It's gonna look good. I like how
Yeah, you could change direction while doing it too.
well, probably not, because you can't change the momentum fast enough. But
Right.
this is probably still using the old momentum calculations, which are really we didn't even talk about momentum. We didn't do it. Next time. Next time. Next time. Next time.
Hey, Dr. Spock.
What's new? That guy went to PAX.
Yeah, I could definitely go over the workflow.
For the stagger?
Yeah.
For the mocap? Yeah, let's do that.
Sure.
That sounds great. Doug, you can
I know it's this thing to behold. Spent a lot of time just doing this.
He's stuck though. Something's going on. He's stuck in place.
And it's the funny perfect guy.
Yeah. Hello everybody. Welcome.
Thanks for dropping in.
Yeah, show off
Motion capture workflow.
show off a motion capture workflow.
So, for the stagger,
Oh, that's fine. That's all good. We're having a lot of fun with the stream.
that's awesome.
Yeah, even if no one shows up, we have fun with the stream because like it's fun to come and talk about the thing we do all of our excess brain power. Like,
This is kind of what we do when we get together.
yeah,
if we're
we
not
basically,
streaming.
just, we
So
basically just talk about goblins. It's actually funny because like I'll be talking to Mom and she'll be like, "How's Joel?" She's like, "You talk to him every day," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't know how he is really. Like I just." We talk about I know how the goblins are.
So I get in the motion capture suit. Let's do backward stagger. And this is Rococo.
SQYD.studio.
Yeah. So you can see me here. I'm gonna do like a bunch of takes.
All at once.
Yeah. And I this is the group of takes that I saved. I probably did this for like 20 minutes.
Or longer.
And I gotta say, I was sore the next day.
It's a workout?
Yeah, for real. I forget which one I actually saved here. But it was really important when I was doing this, because the first batch I did it, and it wasn't blending properly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because I was not taking the same number of steps backwards.
So you're counting.
So I landed on a 5 into a settle. So that's 5 into a settle backwards and for the side. Yeah, sometimes it takes a second to update there.
You're just watching this. You're not
Yeah.
watching the whole take.
This is the clip that I decided to use. So from there, I export it as a Mixamo skeleton. It's because it plays really nice with Blender.
Also Unity. Like all the Mixamo animations just map to the Unity humanoid. So, they're all free online, eh? Like tons of people make Mixamo packages.
And then I bring it into Blender.
You might need to make this smaller if people want to see the whole thing, right?
Yes,
Just
true.
because.
Thank you.
Just because the ultra wides. We've both now moved to ultra wide monitors from having 2 monitor setups.
It
and
really is
you're
excellent.
never gonna go back, I think, if you do this. Yeah. Yeah, that's basically what I say. It's like, how's Joel doing? It's like, he's working on goblins. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. It's like,
So let me pull up the backward stagger here.
oh, don't do that. Control Z. What a powerful thing to have going on.
So this is the Mixamo skeleton that I bring in from Rococo. He's not running the right animation. So I bring that in, and then I'm using Auto Rig Pro to do the remapping, which I can't recommend enough. It's like $40, and it helps to rig, but it also is the only remapping software I've found that is not a nightmare to work with.
Sweet.
I basically just have to select the Mixamo rig, select the target rig, which is the Goblins rig, and then I go down to the mapping presets and I go Mixamo FK arms, IK legs. I've had the best results with that. You could go full IK, but it gets weird, and then there's a lot of cleanup you have to do. Using FK is not as good because it's harder to clean up, but usually better results out of the box, I think. But I need the IK on the legs so I could pin his feet down to where they need to be so there's no sliding, because we're using the root motion to control all the motion that's in the game. So those feet really need to plant, and he needs to move.
By root motion to control the motion in the game, he just means like the motion of the animation, like the full displacement of the animation is going to be 1-to-1 with the displacement of the animation in game.
So he's moving backwards, and that animation is actually going to control his movement backwards.
So the Unity animator has an animate physics toggle, which lets you enable root motion controls. Yeah.
And then I will usually the feet are like sliding around and stuff, so I will have to do some cleanup, which is basically like even here I don't think I've cleaned this because his foot is
just kind of tilted.
It's kind of tilted. So I would grab that, and then I would delete all the keyframes sort of in front and before it, because I feel like this is a key pose. And then I'd fix his foot in that frame, and then it sort of blends into that. Once I'm satisfied with it, I'll grab the rig, and again using Auto Rig Pro.
Because
they don't pay me, but
they should.
They should. I'll promote them to the end of the earth because
it's power.
I was using Rigify at the start to do my rigging and remapping and everything, and just the difference is night and day. Though I've heard Rigify is a little more powerful for stuff that's not humanoid. Auto Rig Pro is very much like for creative people that don't want to learn a lot about rigging, but want to rig up a humanoid and animate it.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, like, because we've talked a little bit, and like obviously nothing we talk about is ever a thing we're definitely gonna add, but we want to add pigs. Yeah. That run away from the goblins, and like you can start a pig stampede. Like they just, I think they just run away from the active goblin.
Yeah, like
and then you could like corral them up. Yeah. Like the pigs in Wind Waker.
And you could also get them to charge your enemies.
And also you could be like, you could be like, if you want to have like some quests in your sandbox map, because it's another thing we talk about. It's like get all the pigs into the pen without breaking the pen, right? Like fun stuff like that. So, do you think? Because like. Also, Rokoku has some, like, here's how you pretend to be an animal and use the motion capture suit to get animations for four-legged creatures kind of thing. So
I think, like, if I get good at my mountain climbers, I could pretend to be a pig.
But you'll probably have to figure out a different way to rig, is what you're saying.
I know ARP does support it. I just don't think it's a strong suit of Auto Rig Pro.
Yeah, fair enough.
But
Puppet
I'll have
Master
to look
also
into that.
supports quadrupedal rigs, so
That's something to look out for.
Pigs might happen. Pigs might
But,
happen someday.
That's high on the list of features for me. That'd be excellent.
That's high on the list. Above or below toboggan?
Maybe above.
Oh my
for
god.
me.
Well,
I think you might get some more versatile.
things than you will out of toboggan. I just
Probably more effort goes into pig, though.
I don't know, man. Oh yeah.
And get my anti-circus on.
I'd work with him.
I'm wondering when tax season comes around if I could use all my gym memberships as a business expense now that I'm a motion capture actor. I'm training. I'm training to act like a pig.
It's for my work. It's for a job. I'm training to act like
This is what peak performance looks like.
I think as long as you keep your receipts, you can claim a lot on business expenses, and then like hope you don't get audited. Really is how it works in Ontario, at least. I've seen people charge some very weird stuff as business expenses.
Like I was saying, once everything's satisfied, I like the animation. ARP has this export FBX, which exports to Unity as a humanoid rig in one click, and you could just click root motion on.
So you don't even have to go and tweak the settings once you get it into Unity.
No,
nothing. It's just done.
It's just done.
Oh man.
So
I will say I do tweak the settings on all the FBXs because I turn the root motion off of the y-axis.
So they don't have up and down.
Yeah, and also the rotation. I turn the root motion off on rotational root motion. So the only root motion is the like horizontal left, right, back, forward.
I've started doing that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool.
So that's awesome. Auto Rig Pro. One of those things like Puppet Master that I don't know how far we would get
without Auto Rig Pro.
I guess I'd just have to do a lot of learning, I'm sure.
What's the quote? It's like every problem is hard until someone makes it easy.
Yeah.
And if you aren't
I love Blender's approach so much.
Yeah.
It's just
in the fact that it's open source software.
It's open source software.
That's great.
You could download things that make it a whole different
beast.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a Blender game engine for a while, eh? Like someone was working on that. Is that a real thing?
Yeah, that was sort of early days Blender. It was a game engine.
Where they're like,
but
it could be a game
I think
engine.
there is. It's not directly within Blender, but I think people are still supporting it. Yeah, it took some experimenting to get it right, especially remapping from a Mixamo rig
to the Goblin, because they're not the same.
To the Goblin, no, because this is like a rig that's designed to be animated with, so it's got like IK legs.
Oh, yeah, very cool. Yeah, that is IK.
Yeah.
These goblins could easily be very, very, very scary.
Yeah. They can't stretch within Unity.
No. Once they're exported to Unity, they're...
Well, I guess they do sometimes when they take a big collision.
that's a different kind of stretching.
Different kind of stretching. So then I'm exporting, and I'm not actually exporting the model anymore. I used to be, but then I realized you don't have to do that.
You can export just the animations.
Just the animations. That's right.
So one thing we definitely need to clean up. This is just like a note for later. And then there it is. Look at that.
Yeah, like I said, or like Connor was saying.
Yeah.
We're taking the rotation and the Y motion off, so it's just getting the horizontal motion.
Yeah, and if you're looking at this, it doesn't actually make any sense. Like, what the heck does bake into pose mean? Mm-hmm. And bake into pose just means that the movement along, like for the rotation, if you click bake into pose, then any rotation inside the animation will be excluded from Unity.
Yeah.
So right now we only have the root transform position of the XYZ because bake into pose is not checked here. Yeah.
And
that's it.
Yeah, that's it. So that's the workflow, and it's actually fast, and I'm getting faster at it, specifically the cleanup, because that step
is the longest.
Yeah. And depending on the animation, it's like, I could clean this up, but I'm just going to redo the take, because... So a lot of it is that, like...
You're not going to redo the staggers. These look great.
No, these are great. But
these are great.
I was doing the drop kick, and I was trying to clean up the drop kick. And
wait, you were doing the drop kick?
Yeah, I could...
Oh, man.
I could show it to you, but...
What we want to do, and right now, are we 2 weeks out from our deadline? Big air quotes around that, because like we made it, so we can change it.
Yeah.
But I do want to actually try to stick to a bit of a release schedule. Try to do the things you say you're gonna do. Nice.
But
really weird looking.
The take just it's not worth cleaning up. I'll just have to do the take again.
Cool.
Shaggy got terrified when I was doing that. He didn't like
you kicking your legs, lying on your back and kicking your legs hard.
No, that scared him a lot.
Wicked. Do you want to play a round of Watch Out for Goblins? And then,
yes, I do want to show the.
Oh yeah, okay.
New locomotion animations.
I kind of like this.
I'm not going to use.
I kind of like this this kind of dev stream where we don't just like play the game, but we actually just like
talk about
how we made the game. Yeah, exactly. That's fun. I don't know if it's fun for people watching, but like I hope it is.
Is this? Yeah. Okay.
These are the new.
They look goofy as hell, but it's a step in the right direction, I think.
Look at this guy go. Oh man, I like it.
But because I'm so limited on the space in this basement, so it looks like I've got a limp.
You say that, but this basement is cavernous. Like it's some of the most open space I've.
It's not exactly a great space for sprinting.
No, because it's all drywall. I kind of like them. I kind of like it.
So it's a step in the right direction. I do need to redo them, but I want that kind of
scuttly, goblin-y grossness.
You got a serious limp on the forward.
His one leg is just dragging. Like it's not animating at all. Oh, here he goes. and then he's up. Because we still have the jump power really high.
Oh yeah, I improved the camera as well.
I like it okay. Like the limp is it's like a side effect of Puppet Master, right? Because like the leg is physically simulated, and if
he's not picking up his feet enough on that animation, then they're gonna catch on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's nothing we can really do about that because, yeah, a lot of this really does come down to just animation quality. I don't know if we knew that going in, but you know, you're game player.
Yeah, I mean, with the motion capture, it's easier. I don't think I could really do it.
Turn down the jump and let's play. Let's play around. Let's play around before we call it here.
I'm gonna switch over to the other animator controller though.
That's probably a good idea. That's probably a good idea. Which I guess means we're just playing the same build that is out in the wild.
Pretty much. I mean, it's got It's got polish.
It's got a bit more polish. Oh, it's got the time, the time change, the time scale change, which is huge.
Yeah. Time scale doesn't break everything.
Yeah. So at some point, one of us, I think it was me probably, I read a thing that if you ever change the time scale, you should also change the fixed delta time step. Like you should match your fixed delta time to your time scale. And that's not true. I don't know who told me that, but don't do it.
True for certain use cases.
It's probably true for certain use cases, but definitely not for ours. So now we blend in and out of slow-mo much better, and the physics don't sometimes go wonky anymore. Yeah. Sometimes deleting a line of code that you put there for no reason is a good idea. Oh no! This is a real game. We're actually gonna fight. Don't hurt me. Yeah, I've also heard that for smooth motion, but when we took it away, now we have smooth motion. So like, well, sometimes. It's much more smooth, especially when going into and out of the time scales. Especially for like the cloth colliders, the cloth physics don't look as awful. They don't like jitter as much. Overall, it just looks much better.
This is what I'm doing.
What you're doing? Terrible time.
Yeah, it was not ideal.
That was that. No, you didn't even kill a goblin. They're all still alive, and they're gonna make you regret that.
It's because I have Blender open. It's messing up the physics.
That's not true. Like your computer was designed by.
You?
I guess so.
You and your friends, I guess.
me and my friends who just want more processing power than sense. Okay, that was bad. I don't really like any of this. I don't like any of this at all. But I do have a club. Oh, duh. Oh, God. Oh, God.
I think the default goblin settings are...
They're a bit different, for sure. They're not... There's already... But get out of here, buddy. Get out of here. Is he coming down? Oh, yeah, he's coming down. Nice. Nice.
Yes, it does provide a smoother motion, because if you don't change it, you'll get, like, choppy, sort of 12 frame per second kind of look.
But if you switch your rigid bodies to interpolate,
then smooth that
then
out.
Unity will just calculate the distance between the fixed update frames and just give you a smooth motion. He's really slamming into the ground. Yeah, it's because those goblin settings are different. Is he dead?
He's
dead. Oh man. Well, that's that. Yeah. We extrapolate sometimes too. There's some things we extrapolate on. We extrapolate on like the spinners and stuff. Things that can hit the goblin that move at relatively high speeds. That's just so the goblin doesn't like clip through things. I did a lot of research on the there's like 4 different physics calculation modes. There's like discrete, and then there's continuous, and then there's speculative continuous, and there's dynamic continuous, something like that.
This guy is really hard to control with these settings.
Yeah, no, I was having a lot of trouble. It's the momentum. All the momentum settings are different because the way momentum is calculated is completely different. It's a whole brand new algorithm. So,
I'm glad it's not that I just suck at my game now.
No, it's not that you just suck at your game now. I was having a lot of trouble too. It's a lot of finesse.
The goblins have gotten into the grog.
They'd be drinking. Oh man, that was great. I love it. I'm so happy that happened.
Yeah, I looked into Havoc. We would have to switch our whole project to a DOTS framework, which we might want to do, but probably not until we're in early access.
Well, I don't want to switch it. If it's going to happen before we publish something, if we're doing a switch that big. Yeah, the trouble is I don't foresee us being able to set up the goblins as entities. And I don't know. Granted, I don't know enough about the ECS to really like comment on that, but I just don't. Whip it down there and
Psyche.
hit. Go. Come on. Oh, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
It's not.
It's coming. It is.
It's stuck.
It is. It's coming.
It's stuck on the fence.
It's coming. Yeah, so I've done like some scant research on it, and it seems like game objects and monobehaviors and entities can all exist in the same environment at the same time. But I don't know if that's true. I just and I don't know how easy it is to get that to happen. But one of the things, like all these fence posts and stuff, right now they're all game objects in and of themselves, and we can have a fair number of them like on screen. But if we could switch to ECS, we could build entire houses out of them, and we wouldn't even have to
Angry Birds.
Yeah, really go nuts, like next level, and never have to clean up our scenes. We've talked a lot about like once these settle, having them dissolve into mud. Like once the fence posts settle, having them dissolve into mud. But now that we've got the settings on them so that they like actually trip goblins and like the bombs will knock them away.
Want them around.
I want them around. They add a lot. They make the battlefield more hazardous. And like when you're sprinting and you run into one and your goblin's legs got knocked out from underneath them, like I think that's just fun. It's like dynamic chaos that we're looking for. So if we could just have more of them, that'd be great. And that seems to be what Dots and Havoc is really good at. So those are that's the pros list. And the cons list is just like, how much dev time will it add? Really? Like how much dev time do we really want to add? Yeah, I don't think it's, if we don't go to early access with it though, I don't think I want to change it after that.
We could always branch and see how easy it is.
Yeah.
If it's smooth, then it's smooth. If it's not,
That it's not. Yeah. But yeah, I haven't really messed with any of the other physics settings. The other one is the NVIDIA physics we could use, but yeah, it is a paradigm shift. My friends in software engineering are like actually doing it. Says it's an industry-wide paradigm shift. It's like they've been given suddenly new coding parameters, and object-oriented is on its way out the door because we have all these CPUs with multiple processors or multiple threads, and most programs don't make use of them properly, and doing like the data-oriented design instead of object-oriented design is how coding is going to go in the future. So yeah, I'd like to learn it now because I want to keep doing this for as long as I can, really, because it's the only thing I've done that I'm like, yeah, this is good. This is what I want to do.
some projects we've talked about that could
really benefit from dots for sure. Well, even this one could really benefit from it. I think most projects, like some places you probably don't need it, right? Like I don't know. People say it's really good for like real-time strategy games and the like, where you want to have lots of guys on the ground. There's definitely some games that have come out that use it. What's the is it Going Medieval? Seems to use some version of dots. Maybe it's not called Going Medieval.
Diplomacy is not an option.
Diplomacy is not an option. Yeah. It's like a tower defense, but it's got, tens of thousands of guys coming at you. They could probably make They Are Billions bigger.
Yeah.
Like actually put the billions in. Like
There are trillions.
there are trillions.
I would lose my shit for that announcement.
If they were like, here's a sequel
Yeah.
to They Are Billions.
They Are Billions is so good.
It's pretty great. I played that Rock Raiders game, eh?
How is it?
I don't know. It's a game from
Rock Raiders.
1999, but it is Rock Raiders and it runs really smooth. All of the little weird weird cutscenes before and after the missions are still in place, and like I feel like he's gonna get sued for sure, and like there's gonna be a takedown notice. So if you want to go and find it, go download it now. If you're because Lego's got to sue him, right? Lego can't allow that to exist, even as a free. Anyway, yeah. I don't know if it's like I haven't really looked at the actual Unity documentation. I've just watched a few videos here and there. I haven't played with it, but I hope it's like the Unity nav mesh documentation. But it seems like you're telling me that it is not, Ty. So that's terrifying. It relies very heavily on C# events too. I know that. So I know you got to get used to using async await, which I've dabbled in a tiny bit. I think there's one script in Watch Out for Goblins that uses async await, although I can't remember exactly what it is off the top of my head. But that seems like a great alternative to coroutines if you can get your head around it. But I know for like the dot stack and for using like Unity's ECS, you need to use C#'s job system, and you need to know how to async and await. And I don't really. Yeah. You ready to wrap up?
Yeah, I just wanted to show this push animation if I can.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Ooh. Oh. Wow.
I'm trying to...
What is this for?
When you tap both triggers with empty hands.
That's what you... Both triggers with empty hands, you get a big shove.
Yeah.
Big two-handed
I have a
shove.
one-handed one as well.
Oh, do you? Can I see it?
That one is not being taken through the process yet.
It's not in game.
I'm trying to...
It seems really like, because it's a video game animation, it's a good thing that it has no lead up time, right?
Yes,
like
that's
it's
intentional.
snappy as heck, which is part of the video game animation creed, I guess, is like you want things to be
as little anticipation
as little
you can get away with.
Yeah, you need anticipation to sell it, but as little anticipation as you can get away with, which isn't always true, because like I'd say like Dark Souls, like FromSoft games are
about knowing how long your
you got to
is.
figure out how much, like, they use anticipation to make you understand what you're about to do before you actually commit to it. Yeah.
This should overwrite the upper body, right?
What do you mean?
With the two-hand push?
If it's below the upper body, I believe it will overwrite the upper body. Like it's in order of priority from the top to the bottom of the animation stack.
He's not doing it.
He's not. Well, why would he be doing it?
Because the animation's on there. This is not looped. It's not a loop. What? It's a loop.
But the animation's on where?
It's just on its own layer.
But why would it play it?
Because it's on the layer. The entry goes into it, and it should just loop.
Oh, it should just do it a bunch of times.
Yeah, it should
over
just
and
do
over
it
and over
over
again. Is the layers weight in? Yeah, it is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know what? This is probably not even
the right mask?
Right animator that I'm editing.
Oh, yeah. There are a lot of animators. We have to go through and clean up the project again. Every now and then, it's like, well, let's go clean everything up, because I can't find anything anymore because there's so much stuff. And I was like, what's the difference between Goblin Remap Test and Goblin Test? Like, Goblin Remap Test is the Goblin we've been using for a very long time. It's no longer a test. It is the there they are. They're pushing. They be pushing. You did it.
So I think with this, if you're,
he really does like smash that fence, you know?
Yeah. If you're not rooted, I think it should act kind of the same as the drop kick does. By pushing you away from.
It's gonna be a little bit of a push you away.
If you're not rooted.
So like you can do it in the air.
So you could do it and spring off the ground.
Oh man. Yeah, if we stick the landing on this, it'll be really cool. Shove this guy.
I don't think it'll do much to him.
Do a little.
But I think what I want to do is have like the trigger that appears there. So it has
a trigger?
more effect.
What do you mean a trigger that appears?
Like a trigger collider that appears there.
Oh, in front of his hand that like has a forward direction and just gives him a kick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Because then, you know...
We could reuse that system for the drop kick.
Yeah.
Exactly the same.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
I'm in.
I think there's going to be some crazy goblins for sure if we get it right.
Yeah. Well, we better go get it right.
Yeah. Nothing further?
Yeah, I don't have anything to say. I'd play another round, but the game's not really playable right now. Like, I'm gonna be honest, it's pretty hard to control or get them to do anything. Look at these guys shoving. Look at them shoving. Yeah, we've been here for like hour 45 minutes. Like that's
probably our longest stream.
That's our longest stream.
Thank you to everybody that showed up.
Yeah, thank you for everybody who didn't show up, who eventually watches this. Like, I hope you're as excited about Watch Out for Goblins as you want to be, I guess. I was gonna say as we are, but like that can't happen.
That's hard.
That's not gonna happen. But thank you. Until next time.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun for us. So
yeah,
if that's kind of the direction people like, or
want to go,
I guess we can play it by ear.
It?
I think our camera died at some point.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you didn't get to see my unshaven, unkempt face, so that's good.
Yeah, sort of. We'll play it by ear, but I like to do the dev stuff. I think it's why people would watch a dev stream. Yeah.
Also, there's plenty of dev streams that are like we have that show off. Here's what the game is about. This is what it looks like. Here's what the game's about. Because that's, you know, and I like doing the how we make the game because honestly, it's hard to like. It's not something you're like. I could talk to Joel about it, really, and everybody else is like eyes glaze over and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. Like, I've never rotated a vector in my life, and I probably will never need to rotate a vector. So, get out of here with your quaternions. Yeah. And meanwhile, all I want to talk about is quaternions. So
that's why it's kind of nice that we have game devs in the Discord and watching the stream because.
Yeah,
it is just fun stuff to talk about. It's awesome.
Yeah, very interesting. So yeah, thanks again for popping in, and I hope you have a great weekend.